Happy Sunday to everybody. I'm so sorry I couldn't make it yesterday. I really wanted to come on, but things got in the way Friday, which delayed things and it just derailed things for me for Saturday. So I'm here Sunday to give you a live and some updates on what's going on around the Lone Star State. Have some crazy stories that I came across. You can always come here for those wild, crazy things happening in the state of Texas, the great, big, beautiful state of Texas. But give everybody time to get in here. Going to run through some of these stories about what we'll be talking about today. A wild bear spray attack in Houston. A man was attacked with bear spray from a former acquaintance, or I guess they were enemies at some point, or they didn't like, I don't know, something. So they had some kind of beef previously, and he got attacked with bear spray, and then got hit by a car. I won't be playing that part of the video, but he got hit by a car after that, and I think it was all a setup. Bear spray attack and hit him with a car. Luckily, he survived, but he is paralyzed from the waist down. A sad story there. And what do we have? A tire shop manager killed in Dallas, and I've heard nothing from BLM. Black man was killed by another black man, and nobody's talking about it. No BLM outrage. Texas DPS on the high alert as they launch a massive holiday security plan to keep us safe during this holiday season. Ken Paxton sues Epic City to halt development scheme. Greg Abbott directs the US Treasury to go after CAIR. See, jugging crimes surge across Houston and San Antonio. So yeah, let's jump into it. Jugging crimes are bank crimes where people they watch somebody at a bank, pull cash out of an ATM, and then follow them home or wherever they're going to and rob them. So let's get started here.
Houston man's life forever altered after he was paralyzed from the waist down in a hit and run near the bars in Montrose.
That was part two of a devastating attack that started when police say someone else drove by and bear sprayed him in the face. The video coming to light just now 6 months after the shocking act of violence. And we have to warn you, the rest of it is difficult to watch. ABC 13's Luke Jones is live in Montrose with the search for the drivers who did this. Luke.
Yeah, and the victim, he was standing right out here at the corner of Fairview and Crocker when that first person drives up and bear sprays him. So at that point, he's on the ground scrambling around trying to regain his composure when a second car comes speeding down Fairview,
This guy's always laughing when he's always smirking when he does these reports.
Strikes him and hurls him across the street. A snapshot of life. As Mark Michael knew it.
I loved playing basketball. I loved running around.
Before the June 18th hit-and-run crash that left him paralyzed from the waist down, fractured multiple bones, and ultimately cost him his career as a professional chef.
I was evicted from my apartment. I lost my job. I pretty much lost everything.
That morning, he says he'd been drinking at the Montrose bar, Barcode, when he recognized an acquaintance from years ago.
I seen the evil look in his eye. I tried to say hello. He said, "Do you remember me?" And it was almost like the look of a hyena.
Michael says he took off running out of the bar, but a short time later...
That's creepy. Get the look of a hyena after you ask the guy how he's doing. You know it can't be good after that.
As he's walking at Fairview and Crocker, police say someone drives up in a dark-colored Kia Soul and bear sprays him. He suspects it's the same guy from the bar. After trying to wipe the spray from his eyes, Michael eventually stumbles to the ground.
I was kind of just on my hands and knees, just trying to beg for help and trying to find myself, and cars were passing me by.
We have to warn you, what you're about to see, you may find hard to watch. Around 2 minutes after Michael's bear sprayed, a red Ford Focus drives up and strikes him.
All right, I'm not going to play that.
Lane, where multiple Good Samaritans, including an off-duty police officer, find him.
They actually sped up right before they hit me. And so you could just tell it was very intentional.
Michael believes the hit-and-run driver may be connected to the person who bear sprayed him. Police confirm he provided them with a name, but they're staying tight-lipped beyond that, only saying they haven't made any arrests.
I would just wonder why somebody would want to attack me like that and hurt me like that.
Stripping him of his livelihood, stripping him of the life he knew. In Montrose, Luke Jones, ABC 13.
Wow, that's a pretty scary situation there. I wonder who it was. Like, this had to be planned. I mean, this person that saw him in there said, "Do you remember me?" And then outside, he's bear sprayed, and all of a sudden gets hit by a car. And they didn't slow down. They had to have seen him. They sped up, actually. So I think this was coordinated. Don't know what kind of issues he had with this person in the past. I looked it up. This is a gay club, so I don't know if there was some kind of relationship between him and this guy or some kind of connection somewhere, and now he's paralyzed from the waist down. The two suspects have not been caught. I mean, imagine getting bear sprayed out of nowhere and then a car slams into you. And I watched the video. Unfortunately, I didn't know it was coming up, and then the guy just flies into the street and onto the concrete. It's pretty crazy. But I didn't want to play that because it's graphic and it's just, it's not pretty to watch. But here's another story.
Dallas police say
a man was a business owner. A tire shop was killed by his employee for no apparent reason. At least we don't know the reason yet. Let's check it out.
Well, Dallas police say they arrested a man accused of killing his manager.
21-year-old Marlon Lawrence is facing a murder charge tonight. Police say he shot and killed 42-year-old Billy Brightman at a tire shop off Camp Wisdom Road in the Redbird neighborhood of Dallas. Fox 4's Peyton Yeager spoke with the victim's loved ones. She's live with more. Peyton.
Steve, and the biggest question from this family tonight is why, and why did it escalate to such violence from someone the manager hired? Now the tire shop manager leaves behind a wife and 2 children. Rent-A-Tire off Camp Wisdom Road in Dallas sat quiet on Tuesday. A sign outside for customers: "Sorry for the inconvenience, our store is currently closed." But Monday afternoon, it was chaos. These photos of police on the property snapped by nearby businesses. Dallas police say the manager of the tire shop, 42-year-old Billy Brightman, also known as BJ, was murdered by one of his employees, 21-year-old Marlon Lawrence.
It had to be almost 1:45, 1:50, and that's when I started seeing the crime scene.
James Luck, a friend of 20 years, had actually spoken to Brightman early Monday morning. He swung by the shop that afternoon and confusion set in. Luck later learned Brightman died at the hospital, describing him as a motivated, selfless family man.
Just unbelievable, just for it to actually roll out the way it did.
Surveillance video, according to police, showed Brightman working the front counter. Dallas detectives say Lawrence, a tire technician, approached Brightman from behind and shot him in the back and then again in the face. Arrest paperwork Fox 4 obtained on Tuesday doesn't reveal why Lawrence allegedly opened fire.
He always said, "Be safe out there." That's the only thing he always would project to me, "Be safe out there, bro. Be safe out there, bro." That just...
Luck, teary-eyed, thinking about the parting words Brightman would always say to him.
Now, just thinking of him always telling me that, it just kind of bothers me now.
Once Lawrence was taken to Dallas police headquarters to be interviewed, police say he did admit to shooting his boss. Lawrence, he remains in the Dallas County Jail tonight. He is charged with murder. Steve, back to you.
All right.
No reason for that. No reason for that whatsoever. And it's sad. The man was a husband, a father, and 42 years old is pretty young. I'm not that far off from 42 years old. So for something like that to happen to him, it's such, in general, but such a young age is tragic, and I don't know what the reason why this happened. I'm hoping they'll find out some more information as the investigation goes on. But people are hotheads. It's scary. And like the guy said, be safe out there. He would always tell his friend, be safe out there. And it's true. You have to be safe because you don't know who you're going to come across, what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis. And it's best to be vigilant and protect yourself the best way you can. And yeah, it's crazy that it's sad that these things happen. This happened right before in the holiday season. Now his family has to go through this, and it's tough seeing these stories on the internet because you have to feel for the families. But speaking of the holiday season, Texas DPS has launched an initiative to
patrols
combat violent
in these
crime.
high-volume areas. That includes Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio. That will increase patrols. So the Texas Department of Public Safety launched Operation Safe Holiday. That will increase patrols in these high-volume areas. That includes Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio. Can you tell us more about this?
Yeah, sure. Operation Safe Holidays is an initiative that we launched, the Texas Department of Public Safety, because we want to ensure public safety, especially during the holiday season. Right now, we are facing more threats than we have ever faced before, and especially in some of these larger metropolitan areas, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, where you have a high volume of pedestrians and dining and entertainment and also parades and outdoor events. We want to ensure that we have all the resources dedicated to those type of events, especially in some of those vulnerable areas. And we want to ensure that every Texan and visitor, as well as their families, feel safe when they're out there shopping or attending a concert or a parade. That's what we want to do. That's the purpose behind Operation Safe Holidays. Just most recently, early September, we launched and developed a Homeland Security Division within our agency. And what that does is brings in all of our intelligence services together under one unified command that provides a more robust intelligence apparatus. And with that, we can provide information to the field, to the agents, to the troopers, to our rangers, to provide swift action. And I think an example of that I was going to add earlier was this past week, Fort Worth, Texas. We arrested, along with the FBI and DHS, an Afghan national that was making terroristic threats on social media in the Fort Worth area. So that really shows the example of how committed we are in Texas to ensure public safety. And we want to make sure that everyone has a safe holiday, especially coming up. So that's the purpose of Operation Safe Holidays. Also, the public can also download an app that we launched, iWatch Texas, where they can report any type of suspicious behavior or activity where we can take action. So again, we are taking the step in the right direction to be proactive when it comes to any type of domestic terrorism or any threats to life. That's one thing that we want to be sure on. That's one thing the governor has prioritized as well, Governor Abbott, that we want to prioritize public safety and national security in the state of Texas.
Absolutely. Lieutenant Christopher Olivares, it's always great to see you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's hugely important in this time of the year because you see crazy things that happen at these parades in Europe and even here in the United States. So one guy drove a car through the crowd and they plowed through. Was that in Michigan, I believe that happened? But you hear about crazy stuff all the time during the holidays, and he said that threats are at an all-time high, right, higher than ever. So I wonder what's the reason for that and what's how they're obviously dealing with it because they put together this initiative. And it's good to know that the governor and law enforcement are in sync with each other, going to try to do the best they can to keep us safe here in the state of Texas. Like you said, the guy that was on TikTok, there was an Afghan national brought in by Joe Biden on TikTok, on a TikTok video. Didn't realize that the video was going to be posted, but on a chat with two other guys. And yeah, and then he was apparently threatening to blow up a building in Fort Worth. And I'm glad Texas DPS, in partnership with federal law enforcement, nabbed this guy and charged him. Yeah. Speaking of, let's see, Ken Paxton sues Epic City to halt development scheme. Epic City is that compound, the Muslim compound, very controversial here in the state. Actually, here in DFW, some Texas scorecard. The proposed Islamic exclusive neighborhood in North Texas has created controversy this year. It's gotten headlines across the country, and Attorney General Ken Paxton is doing something about it. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has filed a lawsuit against the East Plano Islamic Center, Epic, Community Capital and Partners, and several of their leaders, alleging they engaged in an illegal and land development scheme that violated Texas security laws. Epic City, recently rebranded as Meadow, is a proposed Islamic housing development in North Texas that has drawn controversy throughout the year. According to the lawsuit, CCP, formed by Epic as a vehicle to purchase and develop more than 400 acres in Hunt and Collin counties engaged in fraudulent practices while soliciting investments for the Epic City project. Promotional materials allegedly described the development as the epicenter of Islam in North America and implied it would be reserved for Muslims despite assurances to the contrary. The leaders behind Epic City have engaged in a radical plot to destroy hundreds of acres of beautiful Texas land and line their own pockets, said Paxton. I will relentlessly bring the full force of the law against anyone who thinks they can ignore the rules and hurt Texas. The unlawful land project known as Epic City will be stopped, and those responsible will be barred from ever creating another fraudulent operation like this again. Paxton's office also claims that CCP funneled investor funds for personal enrichment and failed to verify whether more than 10% of investors qualified as accredited investors required by law. The lawsuit follows months of state investigation into the project. In March, Paxton announced an investigation to Epic City and later requested a referral from Texas State Securities Board after uncovering what his office described as flagrant violations of federal and state securities law. The Epic development has already drawn scrutiny from multiple state agencies. The Federal Funeral Service Commission issued a cease and desist order over alleged unlicensed funeral operations. Crazy. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality flagged the project for lacking necessary permits, and the Texas Workforce Commission renewed potential fair housing violations. Representatives for both Epic and CCP have previously denied wrongdoing, calling the investigations politically motivated. Governor Greg Abbott has also signed legislation this year, which he said would prevent similar developments by banning so-called Sharia compounds in Texas. The new law removes certain religious exemptions under the Texas Fair Housing Act for organizations that own more than 25 acres, making it illegal to limit property sales and to members of a single religion or impose religious restrictions on resale. Abbott has accused Epic City's backers of attempting to create a community governed by Sharia law, calling the development religious segregation disguised as religious liberty. Under that law, the Attorney General has additional authority to enforce the statute through the Deceptive Trade Practices Act and to bar developers found in violation from forming new special districts or using public funds. We'll see what happens with this. I mean, I hope he's successful because this has been a big deal and man, there's going to be a big back and forth, but I get the sense that the Attorney General will be successful in this because he's done very well in lawsuits. And it sucks that he's running for Senate because I really like him as the Attorney General, but I think there is a good successor to him. Aaron Wright. He's kind of like Ken Paxton's right-hand man, or like he calls him his offensive line. He gave him some name, but this guy's like his pit bull, apparently. So I think he'll be very good. He worked under Ken Paxton directly, and he'll be a great guy to be our next Attorney General. All right, let's see. Before we get to the last story about the bank jugging, I want to talk about Texas Governor Greg Abbott formally requests suspension of CAIR's tax-exempt status. Texas Governor Abbott has requested the suspension of tax exemption for the Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR. The governor's Tuesday letter to the US Treasury is the latest in a recent back and forth between Abbott and Islamic leaders. What we know, Abbott addressed his letter to the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who's doing a fantastic job, by the way, asking for an investigation into CAIR and the suspension of his status as its 501c3 tax-exempt nonprofit organization. Abbott says official documents refer to CAIR as a direct subsidy of the Muslim Brotherhood as a front group for Hamas in the United States. I'll put this in the description box if you would like. What we don't know, Bessent hasn't replied to the publicly request at the time of publishing. This comes after Abbott labels CAIR as a terrorist organization. Last month, he designated CAIR as a successor organization of the Muslim Brotherhood and a foreign terrorist organization under Texas Penal Code. The designation subjects the organization to potential civil and criminal penalties, including a prohibition from purchasing land in Texas. And see, a lot of people believe that Governor Abbott is only doing this because he has an election coming up. Next year, he's in March is the primary, and a lot of people think he's taking action because he's feeling the pressure from voters and he wants to get reelected. So, I mean, it's the same thing with his property tax plan. I mean, he's been in office for a long time. In every election season, he talks about eliminating or lowering property taxes. And I get in the state of Texas, the cities and the cities and counties impose these property taxes, but apparently he can call a special session to implement his plan right now instead of waiting for the election. So there's that. All right, let's get to jugging here in the state of Texas.
Right now at 6, jugging crimes are surging across the Alamo City. Criminals are watching as people withdraw money at banks, then follow them home to steal their cash. Police now warn that thieves from other Texas cities are targeting unsuspecting San Antonians. KENS 5's Vanessa Croy has the warning from San Antonio.
Police say juggers are out right now, staking out bank parking lots and waiting for their next victim. And with cases on the rise, police now believe that organized crews are coming from Houston and now zeroing in. Detectives have one message tonight: be vigilant.
Surveillance video captures crooks ambushing a woman, going for her purse moments after she walked out of the bank with cash.
They'll just watch to see people leave the bank. From there, they'll spot a potential victim and follow them around throughout the city, wherever they stop.
Detective Nathan Zachary with SAPD's Property Crimes Unit says jugging cases are spiking across San Antonio.
We've seen from where they've only taken $20 to up to $90,000 in one incident.
Last year, Zachary says crooks got away with $250,000 of your hard-earned cash. In August, 2 Houston men were arrested, accused of stalking a local bank parking lot, then trailing their victim 13 miles to his Northside home. It's an alarming trend detectives say is adding to their caseload.
I believe they just come here to kind of make it harder for us to catch them.
And in October, Brenson Lair, also from Houston, was the first suspect arrested under a new Texas law that carries stiffer penalties for jugging. Detective Zachary is hoping it will help police crack down on these crimes.
It's a new penal code violation, so we're able to kind of focus in on where they're happening and trying to find a trend to see if we can catch them more.
Detectives say the first Friday of every month is a busy time for juggers to hit. They say always be aware of your surroundings, and if you believe that someone might be following you, don't go home. Instead, call police. Reporting tonight from police headquarters, Vanessa Croy.
That's scary. But I'm glad that Texas has made a special law just for that. Let's talk about that. This was back in June. Governor Greg Abbott signed a new law on Friday defining a criminal offense for Texas, the violent crime called jugging that's seen a spread across Texas in recent months. What is jugging? Jugging is defined as the act of following a victim from a commercial business or financial institution, commonly a bank or ATM, for the purpose of robbing them at a secondary location. House Bill 1902, newly signed into law by Abbott, recognizes the act as a state jail felony with the possibility of being enhanced to a third or even first-degree felony if other penal code standards are met. Jugging has now been added to Texas robbery offenses and carries penalties of 180 days in jail and up to $10,000 in fines or a state jail felony to life in prison for a first-degree felony. Wow. Jugging grows popular across the nation. The crime has been seen as a widespread rise in recent months, with police warning the public of the trend and saying it spread from Texas all the way to South Carolina. April footage of the South Carolina showed a man struggling in the front seat of a truck before jumping out and fleeing in an SUV. Police believe the suspect had scoped out the victim and followed them to a location of the robbery. 3 Texas men were arrested at the beginning of the month in another jugging incident in Illinois. Police said the men had watched the victim withdraw cash from an Elmhurst, Illinois bank and then head straight to a nearby store where he left the money in his locked car. When he went inside the shop while he was away, the men allegedly broke into the car and made off with the money. They were arrested later that day and reportedly involved in another crime. In North Texas, a gym owner in Mesquite was possibly the victim of a jugging incident in Pleasant Grove. The man had withdrawn $5,000 in cash from a bank before driving to a nearby U-Haul rental business and leaving the money in his car. While he was inside, his daughter, who he said also left the vehicle, called him. He also left the vehicle, called him to say, "Man, please." He was scoped out of the bank and followed to the rental center. He was also even aware that something like jugging was a possibility. He was intentionally cautious with the transaction, choosing to get cash from a human teller rather than an outdoor ATM. Interesting. I mean, there was one story I read about here in Texas. A guy had $60,000 withdrawn and left it in his car. I mean, you've got to be more, I don't know. 60 grand is a lot of money and possibly ruin his life because it's gone now. So if you have 60 grand, I wouldn't recommend leaving that inside of your car. Maybe maybe have another way about going about that. But yeah, don't leave thousands of dollars inside of your vehicle. But I'm going to leave that right there. I have to get going. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week, possibly next week. But like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. You have a great Sunday. And